What's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to debunk some handstand myths that you hear on the internet or on Instagram or just basically the ones that people are talking about but really don't have anything to back it up with. Let's get into it. So the first one is that you need to start as a child if you want to get good or reach a high level in hand balancing. For me personally, I started in my late 20s and I really didn't have any background. I was not a gymnast. I didn't do any dance. Nothing that really related to handstands. I did some yoga, I worked out, but in my opinion, those two disciplines were not a really good background for what I'm doing now. I pretty much had to start from scratch. So starting as an adult isn't really a problem. Obviously, with anything, starting as a child is obviously a lot better. You can just pick up a lot of good habits as a child and muscle memory that can carry on with you for the rest of your life. Versus when you're an adult, you're a lot slower, you're more sluggish. You have to think and process a lot more to learn those skills, but it doesn't mean that it can't be done. With enough training, with a good coach, with a good understanding and patience, anything can be done. I have students that are in their 60s and they're still learning how to handstand. They're not super high level, they're not doing one arm handstands, but they can do presses, they can do a clean line, they can hold for a minute. So it really depends on where you're at, what your goals are, and also how much time are you willing to put into your practice. Starting as an adult is no problem at all, so don't let that intimidate you and come in your way when you want to learn handstands. Go for it, man. Just kidding. Okay, so the second one is you need a lot of core strength to do handstands. Just to give you an idea of how much core work I do in my training is zero. 0 minutes, 0 hours, and I do not do any core work for the skills and things that I do on my hands. So do you really need a strong core for handstands? I actually made a video about it, so you can check it out if you want to. But in short, you don't need to. Not as much as you need for when you stand on your feet, when you want to maintain a foot stand, because when you stand on your feet, you're relying on a stack of your alignment for you to balance with. On our hands, it's really no different. You don't really need to do a lot of sit-ups, V-ups, core planks, things of that nature to do any handstands. Obviously, if you're super weak and underdeveloped in that area, it's good to have it more balanced. But do you really need to have that core strength in order to hold yourself up upside down? The answer is no, because we're relying on symmetry, balance, and stacking for our handstands to work and not just squeezing the midsection and really neglecting other areas that might need to be addressed. So do not think you have to have a six pack or super strong core to do any handstands, even one arm handstands or handstand push-ups. You do not need any core work. And number three, do I need to micro bend the elbows if my elbows and arms are hyperextended? I hear this one from the yoga community a lot. They'll tell you to micro bend and just bend your elbows slightly when you're in handstand because you don't want to hurt your elbows, is what they say. This makes zero sense to me because when you're in a handstand, you actually want to do the opposite and lock out your elbows. If your elbows are hyperextended, that's even better because in circus school, they actually prefer and try to get that hyperextended look. When your elbows are hyperextended, you can actually squeeze your shoulders closer towards your ears and have that extra push. And it actually looks way nicer than if your elbows are just straight, although that does depend on your anatomy. So it's not always the case, but in circus school, that is what they prefer. And also in handstand, if you're micro bending the elbows just by a tiny bit, you're sagging a lot of your weight onto your wrists and onto the bottom, onto your hands. And that's a great way to hurt your wrists and your hands if that's what you're going for. But for good technique, actually you want to extend all the way straight from your wrist to your feet. And you want to feel super long in your whole body. Once you're bending your elbows, you're letting your weight sag and hang. And we never really want that in handstand or hand balancing. So no, do not bend your elbows. And the next one is that you can learn handstand in 30 days. Usually this one is a clickbait for YouTube, Instagram, and really it's targeted for people that don't really have any patience or somebody that is looking for shortcuts or just super beginners in general that think handstands are easy and they can get it in 30 days. The truth is, can you really get a handstand in 30 days? For some people, yes, but for most people, no. And even if you can get it in 30 days, it's still not going to be of good quality. Handstands are difficult, especially if you want to do a good one, a clean one, great technique. It takes time to develop. Your body's just not going to learn these skills and patterns overnight or even in a month. 1 month is a good time for you to really understand where your legs are at, what my hands are doing, are my shoulders open and closed, or to even develop that dexterity and flexibility for your body to get into those positions, let alone hold a handstand. So 30 days is super short, and that's not even a blimp in most people's handstand journey. So don't think that just because you're not getting results in that period of time, that nothing is happening. A lot of times, progress is kind of the iceberg, and a lot of it is hidden underneath, and you can't really see it. So really take your time and don't feel like you have the pressure to learn this skill in X amount of days. For 30 days, it is too short, and if you really want to get your handstand in 30 days and stop right there, that's fine. But for those of us that are pursuing good quality handstands, we always want to pursue something more and sharpen our skills. So 30 days is just the beginning, it's kind of the intro. The rest of the time, that's really when you really have an overall deeper understanding of what handstands are about. But it really depends on your goals. If you want to have a crappy handstand, you can do it in 30 days, no problem. If you want to have a quality, good handstand, 30 days simply is not enough. And the next one is, do you really need a 1 minute handstand on two arms in order to have a prerequisite to start training for the one arm handstand? I hear a lot of coaches out there say, if you want to train for the one arm handstand, make sure you have a 1 minute two arm handstand before you even begin. But my question is, how was that 1 minute held? Was it of good quality and not just quantity? When we're setting a time on our handstands, that's quantity. But quality matters more than the number itself. Was that 1 minute held clean? Was the line straight? Was there any shaking and wobbling? Those are the kind of questions that you want to have answered before reaching for that one arm handstand. Because if those things are not addressed, even if you have a 1 minute two arm handstand, it's not really going to translate to that one arm handstand training. I'd rather you hold a 30 seconds, half the time of good quality than 1 minute straight the whole time it was just a banana handstand or there was a lot of shaking going on. Quality matters, and you want to reach for the highest quality possible so that your foundation is great to begin with. When you go for that one arm handstand, that's all you want is good foundation, good muscle memory, and good instincts so that you won't fall right away. So it's tricky. Yes, quality is important, quantity is also important. You want to have both essentially. It's better that you have a good 30 seconds handstand than a bad 1 minute handstand. But let's reach for both quality and quantity. A good, solid, straight, clean 1 minute handstand. I think that would be a great place to start, although not necessary. And our next one is, you need a big space to train. This is absolutely not true because when I first started, I was in Hong Kong and I was living at an apartment that was around 400 square feet, give or take, and it had furniture all around me. and I still managed to train the one arm handstand and be successful at it. Of course, if you have a bigger space, that would help a lot. I can't even count how many times I've bumped into furniture throughout the years of training because the spaces I was in or I'm still in is relatively small compared to like a real house, which I'm in an apartment. So having space that is bigger, of course, it's better, but do you really need it? Actually, you don't. Especially for beginners, in the beginning, all you really need is a door. If you have a door that opens, that's all you really need because you can just kick up to the door and come back down, and that's really all the space you need. The better you get at it, then the more space you would need. Let's say for one arm handstands, you would need to shift your weight from side to side. You might walk left, walk right, and that's when you really need more space to work with. Although it is not completely necessary because there are always drills around that. Work with what you got. If space is really an issue, you can always train outside. Handstands are great and convenient because all we really need is a flat floor and a little bit of space and we're set. Use your creativity. I promise you, whatever you have right now probably will work. So get to it. And the next one is that we need strong fingertip strength and to be always gripping the floor whenever we're on handstand. Now, I want to ask you guys a question is that when you're standing on your legs and on your feet, do you need strong toes? Are you always gripping the floor with your toes? For me, I don't even think about it. I just stand up and my toes are not really active unless I get pushed over or I'm leaning some way or I'm on a train and there's a sudden movement and I have to lean and sway with that train. Other than that, I'm not really using my toes. For handstands, I would say it's about the same. Unless you're tipping over constantly, in which, if you are, there's an alignment issue or a technical issue that we need to address. But if you're standing on your hands with a clean stack, a nice line, everything is clean, your fingertips do not really need to be super active or be strong at all in order to hold a handstand. As a matter of fact, my fingertips are pretty relaxed even when I'm on one arm. Now, when I'm doing things where I need to planche my shoulders forward, let's say I'm doing a press, then yes, my fingertips would be more active than before, but I'm not using my fingertips as a main component in the press or holding a handstand. I think that's where a lot of people have it mixed up. It's when they think the fingertips play a major role in the balance itself, when in reality, it doesn't at all. What does play a major role is your alignment, is how you stack, is your symmetry. Everything revolves around the center. And if your center is indeed in the center, then you don't need to use the fingertips much, if at all. However, if your center is leaning forward, then yes, you need to have fingertip strength to prevent yourself from falling forward. But if you're falling forward constantly, that is another problem that we need to take a look at. So if you're doing it clean, if you're doing it right, you do not need fingertip strength. And our last myth is that you can't learn handstands online. Well, let me tell you this. I have a lot of students on Zoom, and for the most part, they are actually advancing at the same rate, if not faster, than students that come in real life. Now, why do I say this? Because on Zoom, or online in general, you can't be physically present to spot the students. So they have to do everything themselves, and they have to do it right. They have to follow the technique to a T and really try to make it happen for themselves. If not, it's not really going to work, and they don't have somebody there physically to make that thing happen. So in the back of their mind, they're thinking, I need to make this work however possible, and I need to really, really listen to the technique and how it's done. The focus level is just a lot better online, and they can really experience the technique for themselves in that time frame. Real life classes, of course, has its benefits, and spotting does come in handy from time to time. But sometimes we're too reliant on spotting, and we miss out that experience that we really want to create on our own, especially when we're learning new techniques. So yes, you can definitely get very, very far from online. As a matter of fact, I took and I'm still taking a lot of online classes, and it's helped me come this far. So online works wonders. However, you want to at least dedicate some time into it. If you just take one class, it's not going to work. If you take 5 classes, 10 classes, then you start slowly getting into a rhythm of how it works. So I would highly, highly suggest online classes along with in-person classes so you have the benefits of both. Online classes work wonders. Try it out for yourself. All right, guys, that's all from me today. If you guys liked the video, hit subscribe, hit like, and if you have any suggestions about what videos I should make next, please leave it in the comments. As always, thank you guys for watching. Bye bye.